Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Demba Sabali, and his team of experts to come and tell Gambians what they have for us within the sector of agriculture. Soon is the rainy season, and farmers will be busy in the farms. The farmers want to know about fertilizers, about seeds, about equipment, but also about markets for their products. I won't say that much. This is not my show. This is the show of the Ministry of Agriculture and the citizens. Everybody is set. The minister and his team is here. The citizens are here. We will have 90 minutes of very interesting discussion. Before I give the floor to the members of the team to introduce themselves, I'd like to call on the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, Honorable Dr. Demba Sabali, to come and give his opening remarks, after which we'll give 3 minutes to each of his team members to introduce themselves and the projects or directorates they are heading, after which we'll give a chance, we'll open the discussions and give the public the chance to ask questions that they think is important and vital within the sector. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, Honorable Dr. Demba Sabali, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Information. Delighted to be here, and thanks to my team, and thanks to everybody who is in this room. We are happy to have you. The statement may take a little bit longer given the size of our ministry.
We'll give you 20 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of Information, Dr. Ismail Sise, other honorable ministers here present, government spokesperson and presidential advisor on diaspora affairs, my permanent secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture, project coordinator CPCU, Director General here present, and project directors, distinguished members of the public, Gambian farmers, Naloa, Nakofag, our vegetable growers, members of the press, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to sincerely thank Honorable Minister of Information for such a laudable initiative. It is important that as public officials charged with matters of government, we come out periodically to render account to the media and to the general public at large regarding the responsibilities bestowed on us. And that means that as public officials, we are accountable to you and to the Constitution. Thanks to His Excellency's belief in transparency, we are here today. My ministry, recently renamed the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, is charged with the responsibility of increasing agricultural output, satisfying food needs of our nation, generating paid employment and income, and contribute to our foreign exchange earning. The ministry's vision is to transform agriculture into a sustainable, modernized, diversified production and export-oriented sector, which contributes to improve food security, farmer livelihood, and overall economic growth. Our vision is to improve and sustain measurable levels of food and nutrition for the population, attain a modernized sector, ensuring measurable competitive efficiency and sustainable food and agricultural value chains and linkages to market, ensure a diversified and export-oriented production system to minimize the risk in food security, maximize farm income and export earning, and to ensure sustainable management for the natural resources and our environment. The institutions under my ministry are the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Livestock Service, the Department of Planning, the Department of Cooperative Development, the National Agricultural Research Institute, the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency, the National Seed Secretariat, the West Africa Livestock Innovation Center, and the National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation, commonly known as GGC. In addition, my ministry is also implementing about 9 active projects, and these projects are the Resilience of Organizations for Transformative Smallholder Agriculture, commonly known as ROOTS. We also have the Giraffe Project, the Rice Value Chain Transformation Project, the Regional Rice Value Chain. We have GAF-SP, which is Gambia Food Security Project. We also have the Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project. We have the GAMISAL project, that is Gambia Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending. Then we also have the latest one, which is Building Resilience for Food and Nutrition Security in the Sahel, commonly known as P2RS. These institutions and projects derive their mandates from the national and sector development programs and policies, such as the National Development Plan, the Gambia National Agricultural Investment Plan, GNIP-2, the Gambia Agricultural Transformation Program, the Continental Investment Plan for Accelerated Rice Self-Sufficiency in Africa, CIPRISA, and the Agricultural Extension Policy. Our priorities for the previous year have been taking cue from the above national policies and programs and the pronouncement of His Excellency President Adama Barrow to achieve national rice self-sufficiency by 2030. My ministry set out the following priorities in 2023. Organizing the various categories of actors in the sector for greater cohesion, synergy, efficiency, and productivity. Setting strategic priorities towards a consolidated program to attain self-sufficiency in rice production by 2030. Increase yield and productivity across various commodities. Expand the role of the private sector in agricultural production and marketing. Expanding, while at the same time deepening our cooperation with our development partners to increase investment in the sector. Improving the capacity of smallholder farmers, leading to increased contribution to national agricultural production while increasing their income and nutritional status. Ensuring farmers have adequate access to key inputs to ensure productivity, while at the same time ensuring adequate market access for key commodities. Given all these plans, the results attained in 2023. Significant increases were registered across the country for key commodities compared to 2022. This includes the following. The total area put under cultivation was about 168,000 hectares compared to a previous year, which was 144,000 hectares. Groundnut production increased by 28%. The entire country had 50,790 hectares under groundnut cultivation. Rice production increased by 22% at about 47,000 hectares under cultivation. Maize production increased by a significant amount, and totally we had about 21,220 tons produced in 2023. Early millet production increased by 17%. Increase in yield in almost all the crops cultivated from less than 1 metric ton to about 2.06 metric ton per hectare. The total production is 173,000 metric tons in combined crop production in the entire country. The increase in the area cultivated was reported to be as a result of intervention by government, projects, and development partners. And this is in our NAS report, National Agricultural Sample Survey. Farmer income for rice producers in this livestock, especially poultry, with a total production estimated at 1.1 million birds in the entire country. Expanding cooperation with our development partners. Additional funding was secured for projects such as Giraffe, Roots, and GAF-SP, and all these were as a result of their performance in implementation. New entrants came into play, such as Africa Rice. Private players such as Maru Farms and Jar Oil came into the agricultural sector. To ensure adequate access to input and services, my ministry in 2023 provided the following. 35,000 metric tons of fertilizer was procured by the government of His Excellency President Barrow, and it was sold to the farmers at a highly discounted rate of more than 50% subsidized. Over 1,000 metric tons of organic fertilizer was procured by the government, and it was given to our vegetable growers at zero cost to farmers. Over 5,000 bags of chemical fertilizer, both urea and NPK, was procured by the projects, specifically by Roots and Rice Value, to be distributed to the farmers. This was done last year. 677 tons of high-yield, climate-resilient seeds of rice, groundnut, maize, and cowpea were distributed by the projects to farmers last year at no cost. And for plowing services in 2023, over 2,867 hectares were plowed for about 4,000 households, particularly rice producers, at a highly discounted rate. In 2023, the Ministry of Agriculture, through its project, distributed 4 tractors to rice-producing areas, distributed 40 power tillers, 3 tracers, and desilted about 47 kilometers in Jahali Pachar and Sapo area. And for matching grants, Honorable Minister, it will be pleasing to know that our ministry pays special attention to youth and women empowerment. 19 agro-businesses received over 260 million, equivalent to $4 million US as matching grant disbursed by the Giraffe Project. 74 groups benefited from about 80 million, which is equivalent to $1.1 million US, also disbursed by the projects to youth groups. 39 youth groups were also beneficiaries of matching grant by the Giraffe Project, and also 3 marketing federations, mainly in Soma, Kaur, and Basse, were beneficiaries of cold storage facilities. And when you come to talk about gardens in 2023, 6 gardens were completely done and fully functional by the Roots Project in Kanuma, in Kunting, in Yalal Tankonjala, in Sitakoto, in Sololo, and Sutukoba. 25 gardens either rehabilitated or supported by the GAF-SP project. Cold storage facilities, as I mentioned earlier, are running in full gear in Jarasoma, Kaur, and Basse. Also in 2023, the GGC procured over 35,000 tons of groundnut from the farmers at about $38,000 per metric ton, amounting to $1.5 billion from the government. This is unprecedented. Compared to 2022, when the government only procured 11,000 metric tons of groundnut. So groundnut production tripled from 22 to 23, thanks to the input support from the government and the projects. During the Tobaski ram sales, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Small Ruminant Project pumped in over $160 million to young people and dealers to be able to go into ram fattening and ram sales. And we had a similar figures for 2024. When we come to livestock production under my ministry, we started with the development of a livestock master plan. And this, thanks to the Small Ruminant Project and the ministry, now we have a livestock master plan and a sector strategy. We also were able to update our veterinary legislation in 2023. We have the animal health bill that is going to support animal health improvement. In the entire country, in 2023, 39,106 cattle, 452,000 sheep and goat were entirely vaccinated in the Gambia at no cost to the farmer. It was entirely bought by the government of the Gambia and the Small Ruminant Project, 82% coverage. During the same time in 2023, 19 watering facilities were developed by the government, 2 breeding schemes, one in Gallemanda and Boiram, 15 fattening schemes. Each of the fattening scheme was supplied with 70 rams to improve our numbers in terms of ram breeding in this country. 5 slaughterhouses from Bara, Farafenye, Soma, Kerpate, and Brikama, and we also have 5 livestock markets from Dungukebe, Fas Njagachoy, and the surrounding. All these were built in 2023. In 2023, we also worked on the 1 mini dairy in Farafenye and a milk collection point by the Small Ruminant Enhancement Project. And at the same time, both individual and community pastures were built throughout the country. Our cattle are no longer moving to Casamas in search of water and pasture. Livestock show and ram sales conducted by the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency in 2023 and also this year. And with the vaccination that I earlier mentioned by the Department of Livestock Service, our animal mortality rate has reduced from 40% to 22% in 2023. And as we speak, it will be I'm sure you'll be interested to know that the Ministry of Agriculture and its project, GAF-SP, is feeding 147 schools, about 49,000 school children in about 4 regions under the Ministry of Agriculture. In the area of capacity building in 2023, my ministry sent 1 candidate from Nari to go and do his PhD in climate change and agriculture. We sent 7 candidates to do their master's program from the Department of Livestock Service and Nari. we sent 12 candidates from the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Livestock to do bachelor's degree, and we have 18 candidates doing their higher diploma in agriculture, all under the Ministry of, under my ministry. As we now move from 2023 into 2024, the outlook is great, and as a ministry, our focus in 2024 is to increase the hectarage by engaging in land preparation. And this land preparation, thanks to regional rice value, Roots Project, P2RS, and the ministry, we will be engaged in land preparation to expand the hectarage of production. We are also focused on yield increase to a minimum of 4 tons per hectare by utilizing high-yield climate-smart seeds. The private sector engagement by expanding our SME matching grant and other incentives. Attracting youth and women in agriculture by reducing drudgery, and we can only do that if we increase mechanization. We will also in 2024 work to increase access to financing. Financing has proven to be the greatest impediment to entrance into agriculture. Thanks to our new project, Gamisal, access to financing will really be much easier. Increased access to financing is not only relevant for agriculture, for entrance, but it's also relevant for expansion. Institutional capacity building to strengthen our research and development. Developing the entire value chain for rice, maize, horticulture, poultry, and small ruminant. Central in our 2024 agenda is the rice self-sufficiency declared by His Excellency President Barrow by 2030. To attain this, the following are really necessary. 1, we are setting up a national rice self-sufficiency secretariat tasked with aggregating all rice-related activities, both public, private, donors, partners, and everybody involved in rice activity. This secretariat have been fully funded thanks to P2RS, the African Development Bank, and the Gambia government. In 2024, the regional rice value distributed 4 tractors again to rice production areas in the CRR. And nearly 4,000 hectares plowed nationwide by the ministry and the projects combined together at a rate of 80% in most cases by the government and 20% by the farmers. Over 340 metric tons of certified rice seeds have been distributed to farmers in the entire country at no cost to them by the ministry and the projects. 210 metric tons of certified maize seeds are in the process of distribution nationwide at no cost to the farmers. And also 28 metric tons of groundnut seeds will be distributed nationwide to selected areas at no cost to farmers. In this same year, 2024, the ministry and the projects have started or will be distributing 140,000 liters of herbicide that will cover about 7,000 hectares. And this will reduce the drudgery, especially what is putting off young people in putting them off agriculture. And in 2024, the government of His Excellency President Barrow has, as we speak, ordered and received 28,000 metric tons of fertilizer or 578,000 bags already in town being sold at a discounted rate of 1,100 per bag compared to last year 1,150. Also this year, about 21,000 bags of fertilizer as part of the input support to farmers by Roots Project and some other projects. This is being distributed to farmers and will be distributed during this year at a highly discounted rate. In 2024, Honorable Minister, the Ministry of Agriculture, being aware of the need for gardens in this country, will be working on 28 gardens by the Roots Project, and these 28 are broken down as follows. 14 will be rehabilitation, 8 are gardens that were started by the NEMA project, and 6 will be new gardens that are under feasibility studies. Those are brand new gardens. Also 20 gardens either being rehabilitated or supported by the GAF-SP project. Among these 20 gardens, 8 is in West Coast, 1 in KM, 7 in LRR, 3 in CRR North, and 1 in CRR South. And also in 2024, the Giraffe project will now be implementing the 40 gardens, which are 20 youth-led and 20 women-led gardens. I'm sure sites have been identified. Contracts are likely to be given in this July or August at the latest, so that implementation and completion within 2024. Honorable Minister, livestock activity in 2024. The small ruminant fattening and breeding scheme by the West Africa Livestock Innovation Center, WALIC, and the YBK Multiplier Center will continue. And in 2024, the Department of Livestock Service will continue their mass vaccination of animals. This should be conducted this year against PPR. And this, we think, is making effect in reducing mortality in our small ruminant. And in 2024, the Ministry and the Small Ruminant Project will be building the 23 fattening and 22 breeding centers for small ruminant to be completed. They've already been started. They will be completed in 2024. And in 2024, the Ministry and Small Ruminant Project will be doing handing over for 5 abattoirs, 5 livestock markets, 7 meat stalls, and 1 mini dairy, and 2 labs for the plant protection units of the Department of Agriculture. Honorable Minister, all these achievements are good, but they come with quite a number of challenges. Climate change and climate variability is turned out to be the greatest challenge to agriculture. On top of that, we also have labor shortage and inadequate mechanization. Being aware of the mechanization inadequacy is the reason why the ministry and the government is importing 180 tractors in 2024. We also suffer from inadequate budgetary allocation. This is not typical to agriculture. Gambia is a developing country. It's a tax-based economy. And thanks to our donor partners, the ministry is pushing along. However, we must also thank the Ministry of Finance for their accommodation. Part of the challenges for the ministry is market access and export constraints. Export markets are very stringent. Their rules are very complicated. The ministry is working together with other agencies to improve our access to markets and export constraints. Competition with cheap import, example like eggs, onions, potatoes, and chicken coming from across, from foreign lands into our markets, really dampening the spirit and zeal of our local farmers. Limited access to finance as addressed before. Honorable Minister, before I conclude, I want to sincerely thank His Excellency President Barrow for his support to the agricultural sector, but also for his leadership for prioritizing the Gambian farmer and food security. I thank the Minister of Information for this very laudable initiative. Nonetheless, even though at some point I told him, Honorable Minister, you are putting us under the spotlight, but I am grateful that you have done so. This is what needs to be done. Thank you. I must also thank the non-food related ministries, such as the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Trade and GAIPA, that really work with us in terms of land acquisition for our investors. I also thank the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Forestry have been working with my Department of Livestock Services, especially in watching out and controlling disease outbreaks, especially in birds. I must also thank the Ministry of Fisheries that are adding to our basket of food security. I will also thank the private sector, especially the private rice producers, the Maru farms, the Jar Oil, the Sahels, and many of the private sectors. I also thank our friends and partners like the African Development Bank, IFAD, World Bank, ISDB, the Koreans, the Chinese, and the Japanese partners that are in country working with my ministry and the government. I thank the public and the press. We are ready for questions, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that very comprehensive presentation. I think by now Gambians must know, should know, and know that your ministry have been doing a very good job, you and your team. We thank His Excellency the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, for the support he has accorded your ministry. But we also thank you for your leadership, and also we thank you for your service to the nation, you and your entire ministry. I think before I go on to the next phase of this, I'd like to particularly thank a few people who are here with us today for being here. When I was mentioning those who are here, I forgot to mention my very own brother. He was so close to me that I couldn't see him. Honorable Ibrahima G. Sankare, government spokesperson, but also diaspora advisor to the President. Welcome, my brother. Welcome for your support. Also, we have here the Minister of Energy, Mr. Honorable Nani Juara, also with us today here. We have Director of Press and Public Relations, Office of the President, Auntie Aminata Bojang Siso is also here with us today, and also the Secretary to Cabinet, Mr. Ali Unjai is also here with us today. We thank you for coming. We thank you for your support. Bake mbal jial bi na MANSA KUNDA jang sadara jawara programme bi di leen wane te waxtaan gi nag ñu ngi ko jagleel ñi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo nekk Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security, Honorable Demba Sabally ak ñi nga xam ne ñoom la moo liggéeyal. Nguur gi nag dafa wax ne pour ñuy waxtaan ak askan wi ñu xam la mooy jafe-jafe askan wi, la mooy seen xalaat ak la mooy seen bébét. kon te am nañ fi ministre bi ak tiimam, bu leen ragal bu leen tiit, loo leen am rek si laajte si li nga xam ne moo jublu si wàllu mbéy mi. comme que nawet mu ngi jot si béykat baa ngeen laajte njiw gi, engrais bi ak li nga xam ne lu la soxla pour mbéy mi ak lu moo jaayee li nga xam ne moom mooy mbéy mi tamit. kon ministre baam fi yéenaan fi bu ngeen tiit bu ngeen ragal, loo leen am la pour laajte mu ngeen a laajte si kàllaama bi nga xam ne moom ngeen ko bëgg a laaj. kon ñu defee ko noonu balaa ñoo jox ñi nga xam ne ñoom la ministre bi àndal pour ñu wax ñoom ñooy ñan ak lan la ñoo liggéey, dinañ am 5 minutes documentary di wane li nga xam ne lu la ministre bi def. suñ gaay dem nañ seet si dex gi, xam nga lii du wax rek waaye gis tamit daf see bokka. ministre bi wax na léegi ñu gis lan la gaay def si li nga xam ne mooy mbiri mbéy mi. suba su ñëwee ñu jox ñi nga xam ne ñoom la ministre bi àndal ñu wax ñoom ñooy ñan seen tur ak li nga xam ne si loolu la ñoo liggéey, si loolu la ñoo yëngu. suba ñu ibi waxtaan gi, ki nga xam ne am nga laajte nga bëgg a koo jox ministre bi ak ñi nga xam ne ñoom la moo liggéey nga laajte ko. di dalal tamit ki nga xam ne mooy Executive Director of Department of Information Services, Mrs. Aisha Davis, moom tam mu ngi fi teewu fii te di ko jaajëfal bu baax a baax a baax. kon Haruna ana documentary bi, thank you.
Gambia, a nation rich in culture and potential, is embarking on a journey towards self-food sufficiency. With a vision to secure the future, the government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Agriculture, is investing heavily in agriculture via the resilience of organizations for transformative smallholder agriculture projects, root project intervention, Gambia Inclusive and Resilient Agriculture Value Chain Development Project, GIRAF, and Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project, SRPEP, thereby promoting industrialization and ensuring food self-sufficiency in the Gambia. The Roots Project is transforming agricultural practices, increasing production, productivity, and improving livelihoods. The intervention areas includes plowing services and youth-based matching grant. Through training and support, farmers are adopting sustainable and efficient farming methods. Plowing services provided by the government are making land preparation easier and faster for farmers and reducing cost of production for farmers.
Arus la projet ko nyi amanna wato minna nga bata ku jamal la soto kato tracto priya soto aka kembul problem wala e ka tracto nyi na fam foy bata ko do ka tallari bule bu ka tracto soto no after dol fam bulu kole ako ka taragele kato ka damin foy ibu ka soto no pribe o damin jola pour yela faro ko ba o ka kenya kole ako ba be ala tentu la MANSA KUNDA ma be ala tentu ra rusma kato tolla seno ngajelo ko tuma lafta ka fam bulle no but say alhamdulillah na seno yirwa tambul
sino ati kanele maro ni takawa na lita market boku ga maro bi sono kunyo ho bilani machine tanakabi angi tananga na kemoli tananga kemoli angado government inta maro litini.
These services are especially beneficial for smallholder farmers, boosting their productivity and efficiency. The youth-based matching grant is empowering the next generation of agricultural entrepreneurs. The grant is enhancing agricultural productivity and providing employment opportunities for youth across the country.
Project na commencé dula jang bar project me yalon ay musola enna nyanto ay atim mandi mole ba ki root project ko ba tentula mba jayla
rus project be na antara lo dula mentani mbe da men a jam fatani wala baba kere e masa kunda fanan tentula mba jage kana ay project ansala sa project na.
The Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project focuses on improving livestock production and management. It is a value chain project from production to the table. To increase production and productivity, killer diseases of small ruminants are controlled through nationwide vaccination campaigns through DLS. One significant aspect of this project is the establishment of animal drinking points, ensuring livestock have access to clean water. Training sessions are also provided to educate farmers on best practices in animal husbandry.
Kata nyimbiangol ke mindi tilikando kono aka kolea sate mol bulu bakele bare alanata ke bringing project o nyinata ay makoy woto baake be masakunda fanan tentula isa lonko yembe fende nati sintet sate ko me alonko ay sintetun kol nafale
kala bo ari do anda do ina ligga hande no neddo an wawi wallu horem parce que mudu wongu ngudo wa dolo minen hay gota wawangu wala mu wawi me honan kama ko sundro to ongolli alwara mengal brano kusuanga drogo nan kala gitanuma.
The Gambia Inclusive and Resilient Agricultural Value Chain Development Project, GIRAF, aims to transform the Gambia's agricultural sector into a more productive, inclusive, and climate resilient system.
Under the Ministry of Agriculture. We specialize in the rice and vegetable value chains, but we work mostly with the women and the youth. 2023 was a very good year for the Roots project in particular and for the ministry in general, because just like the Honorable Minister reported, we registered significant improvements in yield and production. For the Roots project, we were able to reach about 21,500 households across the country last year, which is more than 50% of the overall target of the project over the 6 years. This year, we were privileged last week to go around with the Honorable Minister to assess the state of preparations for rice production this year. And in my humble assessment, we are even better prepared this year than last year. So we hope to even improve on our results this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Information, and other ministers present, and of course, all other members of the public that are here. My name is Lamin Lameseng Sanyang. I am the Deputy Managing Director of National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation, usually known as Gambia Groundnut Corporation, GGC. Now, our core mandate as a state-owned enterprise is to buy groundnuts from the farmers on behalf of government and process it at our headquarters. Now, we are also tasked with the mandate of receiving fertilizer on behalf of government, store it, and distribute it to the farmers. Now, as the Minister of Agriculture mentioned, in 2023-2024 farming season, the corporation received a total of 38,000 tons of groundnut, currently under processing. And then the groundnut, that is the farmer stock that we buy from the farmers, is processed into 3 forms of products or produce. One, the kernels from the, when it is decodicated at their processing plant. We have the kernels, we have the FAQ, and that FAQ is turned into 2 products again. That is the crude oil and the cake. So that's what we are on now. Now, when we come to the groundnut subsidy that the minister talked about, in 2024, this year, the farm gate price that was pegged by GGC was $20,000. And government announced a $38,000 per ton, which means the minister talked about subsidy. The $18,000 is what government is putting as subsidy. If you calculate the 38,000 tons that we received this year, you are talking about over $700 million as subsidy that government is putting to the groundnut price. Now, when you come to fertilizer, it's the same thing.
Thank you. I mean, this was just an introduction. You started discussion. I can see the excitement, but we will get there at some point. So thank you very much for the introductions. I think before we start, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Honorable Rohijon Manjang, also he's here, and also Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Honorable Usman Ba, is also here with us today. Thank you for your presence. So I think it's time for us to start the discussions. Arun, I'd like to see the video played at the background, even without the sound. That would be good for the people to see what we are discussing. I'll use my privilege as the chair of this discussion to ask the first 2 questions. The first question, I think, to ask Honorable Minister is for you. You can answer in either language, either Wolof or Mandinka or Fula. It's about rice. As someone who's a KUNDA, unfortunately my KUNDA brother is sitting near me here. I want to know about rice production. Is rice self-sufficient so that we can produce the rice we eat? The second question is from the diaspora. Someone called to ask and say tractors. What plans do you have to ensure that farmers have access to tractors? I think the PS talked about mechanized farming. Farmers cannot, if we want to move from subsistence farming to commercial large-scale farming, we need equipment like tractors. What plan does your ministry have to ensure that farmers have access to the tractors they need to do full-scale farming that can increase the yield when it comes to rice and other products? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And I will use this opportunity to thank my colleague, Honorable Ministers, who were able to find time to come and join us here today. The Minister for Petroleum, Minister for Environment, the Minister for Digital Economy, and any other that is here. Of course, the Press Director at OP and the Secretary of Cabinet, thanks for joining us. I will start by answering the last question, just since that one is the one with the shortest answer. What is the government doing to help the farmers access tractor and tractor services? First, what the ministry is doing, we currently have a fleet of 50 tractors. And these 50 tractors have been maintained already. They've gone through all the checks, oil change, get them prepared for the season for 2024. They are strategically distributed nationwide and they are in operation. These tractors are used by farmers nationwide and at a very cheap discounted rate. That aside, the ministry with our projects have contracted in the excess of 50 private tractor owners who are still delivering plowing services to our farmers. In fact, as recent as last week, I was on tour with the director of the Roots project, and most of the tractors that are doing plowing services for us, the ministry, are private tractor owners. So not only have we deployed the 50 tractors that the government owns, but also we have contracted private tractor owners to do plowing service for our farmers. That aside, in 2024, like I mentioned in my opening statement, the government is in procurement stage for about 180 tractors. We expect them to be delivered here before October, November latest, since procurement is a complex procedure. However, in 2024, we expect the delivery, and we think once they are here, that's going to ease the pressure on the demand for tractor and tractor service. The second question, which is the main one, what is the government's strategy or plans to ensure rice self-sufficiency in this country by 2030, as envisaged by His Excellency the President? As a ministry, we've recognized a few things. That without mechanization, it will be nearly impossible to feed the nation. As a result, mechanization has turned out to be our biggest priority. And that is why importing in the excess of 180 tractors is a priority. So improving and increasing access to tractor service is one of them. Two is not only tractor service. When we talk about mechanization, we are talking about the entire value chain from transplanters. They are going to be part of it. To combine harvesters. I think if you look at the screen now, you can see a combine harvester. These combine harvesters are here, are currently in this country. We have a couple of them that are on the fields that are very, very efficient. These combine harvesters, and this one you are looking at the screen, is also a transplanter. This one is in Sapo as we speak. This is in the Gambia. We intend to make a lot of these available to the farmers. So once there are a lot of tractor services, there are a lot of transplanters, and there are a lot of combine harvesters, the entire mechanization value chain is our priority. But that aside, to ensure rice self-sufficiency, we must use high-yield, climate-smart seeds. Traditionally, in this country, we have always used seeds that are about 1 ton per hectare. I mean, at 1 ton per hectare, it will be impossible to feed a country that is consuming 300,000 metric tons per year. That's our import bill on rice, 300,000 metric tons. So if we have to produce 300,000 metric tons, we must produce minimum 5 tons for each hectare that we cultivate. So the introduction of high yield seeds is our priority, and we are doing that already. The projects have distributed hundreds and hundreds of tons of rice seeds to farmers at no cost. It's entirely borne by government. So improving mechanization, having access to high yield seeds is our priority. But also capacity building. Capacity building not only for the staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, but capacity building for smallholder farmers, our farmers themselves. And that is why our mixed farming centers are active. That is why our farmer field schools. This is under the Ministry of Agriculture, where we have farmer field schools. These farmer field schools are like a clinic for the patient. These are the clinic for the farmers, where they can go. They are taught by our agricultural experts on real productive practices, practices that are going to increase their yield, practices that are going to help them put off pests and diseases, practices that are going to minimize their post-harvest losses. So these are things that are practical, and they are strategies of the ministry, but also land preparation. The ministry's priority, and I mentioned it earlier, includes land preparation. Currently, our fields are not level. You can go to a place like Jahali or some other places. Some fields are flooded, while some fields are almost dry. This makes it almost impossible to harvest at the same time, almost impossible to put a harvester in those fields. So land preparation is something that is our priority. But also, apart from land preparation, we also have post-harvest loss management. This country, we are losing almost 30% of whatever we produce. And this we are losing even before it comes to the plate. So as a ministry, the regional rice value chain has worked on a lot of storage facilities. But as we speak, we are in the process of mechanizing our harvesting process. Because until we can mechanize harvesting, a lot of the food will go waste even on the fields before harvest. So that and a lot of other things. But the most important part is our partnership. Currently, we have the Chinese that are working with my ministry. They are serving as the technical backup for the ministry. The Chinese team that is in Sapo, they fix almost every broken tractor. They are fixing every equipment that is down. They are training our farmers on better practices. These Chinese team have their own fields, which they are using as training ground. So the role of the Chinese, together with our regional directorate in CRR South and North, cannot be overemphasized. But that aside, the Korean team is here. They are working with my ministry. What the Koreans are doing is specialized in seed multiplication, because we all recognize the seeds we have, about 1 ton per hectare. The seeds that the Koreans have introduced, that is ISRI 6 and 7, of course my Director General of Seed Secretariat is here. These seeds have the capacity to produce a minimum of 7 tons per hectare. And I just came back from Oven. I have visited seeds that have the capacity to produce 10 tons per hectare. And this is being produced here in the Gambia. In fact, Maru Farms has a field that will produce 12 tons per hectare. So if we can get to that rate as a country, it means all we need is to put 20,000 hectares on the production twice a year. We will be able to feed this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, do you have a mic that is going around? You can use this one.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I just want to follow up with the question the minister asked from a gender perspective. Is your ministry doing a gender segregation of the figures in the local language? Ninga jibe mano doko Gambia jang na ado to musole ka doko. Sanying alka nyim masingol mini nati aning alka kenol mini dada pro sene farol dada. Musol la kobe lari nje nyadi le ni aning kiel tai haima. Bawo ado to musole ka mano doko. Sanyi masingol binakan mako rol be soto kam purka farol dada. Musol be nafa soto la noje nyadi le.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Minister, thank you so very much for initiating this discussion between the public and those that we've given entrusted responsibility to. This is one way that will enhance trust between us and the country's leadership. My question goes to the Agricultural Ministry. What would you term to be the most significant achievement since you assumed office, the Minister Sabali, in your ministry? Thank you.
We'll take one more question and we'll give them the chance to answer the 3 questions at a time. Yes, that's one.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Mol be kondo mbafala logal la gwejola. Mte pota sharar le ban be sirin ko mo banko kan jalle. Bante la kole ako mumente wala nyinti ko na mol ka mano do kule. Sukuta barajali tuba fula kunda jakaba. Bari men kata je wala nyinti ko malol le ka mol batandi je. Adu o tundo be yala nako ninga je do kuno anyama. Usi banko fa balundi no wala banko hafo balundi. Ba sai wo malol la isu. O problème o be solf la nyaadi le lafta ka mansa kunda nyinin kawol. Anentel la sani mentere nga man sa gadinol soto jele. Bar ji ko kete la kole ako men kam to ko brufut sukuta. Jio Messi ani Madiana. So wol mun na kole ako wolati be ministre nyinin kala wala iba mako re sifa juma la kala nye woto wo be diara nye bak ala baraka bak.
Abarka bake be nyinin karo jabila bawo me nyinin karo ke ayake mandika kangolela be nyinin karo jabila mandika kangolela me labanta nyinin karo ke la be wala folo tankula wala me mbota bara jali ani sukuda nyani actually mte boda nan bara jali fangoto ama hani tili saba nani si ning la director benu je ntada fo bara jali farolto andu malol fanka dunnin damen na ngaje fango jele andum kañele musol nindol be le tata fo malol be dame woto malol la batanga kalamuta jele kabrim bije bare lafta ko kiline fole wala bara jali la farol alhamdulillah farol lo meli ala ko wol kap ikaseno ke nole samatili kandi thanks to the Ministry of Agriculture because wodula right now ibe la mano katikanne and in 1 week ibe mani tutu o dati la pour samala production bare ila tili kandi mano ibe o katila le nyin tili nyin wiko mbe loko men kono malol la problème o nga kufula le identify membe kala na solution di killing wo bara jalla faro anyanda ka dada ku by the roots project ala dada wato ni wasida kufula le be kala je ala balango nyi membe je bi wo balango sutu ata bakele malol ka te la nyamen wahra momam malo fa momam malo tora bare wahra malo fa nan amanna Senegal tora wo bina Gambia jande ka mol dandala bare janni o bina tol jigira ni roots faro nyin doku malote ate o balango nyin ata tein wala wo be mali problème o nyin abe o solve la nyinin karo do men kada jannite ka nyinin karo ke wala mu me nyinin karo ke in English and ako munemu my biggest achievement under the Ministry of Agriculture from May 4th, 2022. That was the day I became minister up to today. Thank you very much for the question. It is absolutely a very good one. And the most important achievement for me is the mindset that I have put in the Ministry of Agriculture. That is, we do not have any diverse. The ministry currently, our single most important priority is rice production. And every project director and every director general in this house understands that.
So already I have refocused the ministry to focus on the agenda of President Barrow, that is rice self-sufficiency by 2026. And this, throughout the last 2 years, I have been able to secure in the excess of $100 million from different funders, from IFAD to World Bank, $100 million US, been able to secure that as a minister through my partners to be able to increase funding for the ministry. And this $100 million US, what it will do is to entirely focus on rice production. And that aside, I am setting up a national rice self-sufficiency secretariat. This secretariat will have nothing to do other than rice. And it will now aggregate and supervise every rice activity under the ministry. And thank God, as a minister, I have secured that funding from the African Development Bank. So that focus by the ministry on rice is one of my greatest achievements amongst the others. Nyiningar labango anti ameme nyiningar di director of press, mbeo di la permanent secretary la Ministry of Agriculture, ala nyininkaro mu mentinu wole mu, nka nyinju warangol membe di, ani nyimbaga sol, kamendi senelala. Fonkan hakil tule bang, musoli ye jelle sotoje, keoli ye jelle sotoje, fonni keoli ye jelle sotoje. Nyimu nyininkari bete baledi, bao ngalo neko na project call, jamaja ila funding kabo World Bank, aning IFAD, aning African Development Bank, wala policy lem, pour kanyin number sifal ay tarebulu, we are required to submit such a data.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everybody. My question is to the Ministry of Agriculture. Rice or food self-sufficiency has been a dream of every government in this country since independence, and we have never achieved this goal. Although the minister have elaborated on their plans to achieve this goal by 2030, we have had similar promises, but they all fail. My question is, what do you think is the reason why it is so difficult to achieve this goal? Is it because rice production is very difficult, or do you think that if we switch, let's say, to another staple food, it will be much easier to achieve? Because if you look at other countries in Africa, like Ghana and Nigeria, the staple food is cassava and yam. You look at Kenya, you have corn. And if you look at the percentage of the importation of food, is much lower than the Gambia. My question, another question is, are we considering also to switch our staple food to something much more easier to produce? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Mohamed Koka, a social entrepreneur and founder of the Agro Incubation Hub. So, can I check? I think the mic has a
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, once again. My name is Mohamed Koka. I am a social entrepreneur and founder of the Agro Incubation Hub. So basically, it's quite impressive having to be able to have this opportunity to listen to our Honorable Minister to actually, portray most of the achievements that have been done over the years. So my question specifically is, what plans do you have for youth-led non-profit organizations? Because you've mentioned that you've provided young people with the opportunity to access funding through your matching grants, which is very impressive. But we also have youth-led non-profit organizations that are within the agricultural value chain and supporting smallholder farmers through greenhouse agriculture, looking at various capacities in climate-smart techniques, such as the growing of food using domestic and environmental waste, so we can reduce the reliance of chemical fertilizers, the installation of locally made irrigation technologies, which reduces water waste by 45% and enable the farmers to not only depend on rain for harvest, plastic mulching and so on and so forth. We equally introduce green entrepreneurship, so we shift farmers' mindset to, adopt commercial agriculture instead of farming for sustenance. So what plans do you have for youth-led non-profit organizations, to be specific, that are within these interventions and working towards supporting farmers? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Final question, round of questions. Yes.
Good evening to you all. I would like to come onto the local languages because many of our viewers out there are the local people that we're dealing with, and in agriculture, mostly are the local people. Su ko defee maa ngi nuyu mbokk yi fi teew yëpp di nuyu ñi nga xam ne ñoo topp si jamono ji si ñaareelu fànn bi nga xam ne foofu leen ñëw tey nag mu nekk bés boo xam ne bés bu am solo la te dafa nekk loo xam ne si waxtu biñ nekk dafa timely ñu oo agriculture ñu ñëw te it nag ñu ngi nekk si nawet bi waaye nag dafa am yaaxu-yaaxu yoo xam ne daf dee am ci béykat yi maanaam ñiy mbéy yaaxu-yaaxu daf dee ñëw si nawet bi te yaakaaroon nañ ne tamit di ngeen adresse loolu te di ngeen mën a liggéey ak tamit ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk si wàllum disaster bi ak National Environment Agency. ñaareelu fànn bi tam li ma bëgg a laajte dina dem ci li nga xam ne mooy agriculture ak wér-gu-yaram li ngay gis ne dañ dee wax ne pour ñuy béy pour ñu dundee mu nekk loo xam ne ñu am wér-gu-yaram bu baax a baax waaye soo ko seetloo léegi-léegi si mbéy mi gars yi dafa am yi ñu dee jëfandikoo loo xam ne man dama ko seede gis ko maanaam am na yi ñu dee jëfandikoo suñ béyee ba pare pour ne seen mbéy bi bu mu yaaxu laata ñuy ko mun a njëriñoo waat so lan la yéen seen ministre bi am pour gestu si loolu noonu maanaam mbiri disaster bi parce que ñeneen dañ dee béy ba pare suñ béyee si diggi béy bi taw bi ñëw mu yaaxu maanaam disaster risk preparedness bi ak i tamit wér-gu-yaram bi nga xam ne moom lañu war a gestu pour
Thank you. I think those are the three sets of questions. What I would do is to add two more. One is similar to, because we are getting questions from outside the Gambia as well.
By the time you ask that one, we will start forgetting the question.
No, it's a similar one. It's a similar one to the gentleman's question, which says that are there any, let me see, okay. How does the ministry plan to support the diversification of crops to reduce reliance on a few staple crops and improve food security? So it's a similar one, just to take it at once. All right, thank you. So you can go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I will take the question from the young man. However, the project director for Roots will take the question from the, regarding the role of youth and matching grants and support for the youth. And the question regarding the, our ministry's relationship with disaster management and also biofortification
and also biofortification programs, you know, will be handled by permanent secretary or the. It's a challenge recognized by this government, and I'll discuss with you what we are doing to ameliorate those facts. Again, the other factor that has impeded rice production in this country is the lack of involvement of the private sector. Our Gambian people who are wealthy have always invested in other sectors, viewing agriculture as a risky environment. And the lack of involvement of the private sector has been an impediment to rice self-sufficiency. But again, another reason why we have not achieved rice self-sufficiency is the lack of youth involvement in agriculture and lack of mechanization. These three plus so many other ones are the reason why we've been singing this song of rice self-sufficiency for over decades and have not been actualized. That known, as a ministry and a government, we have started the process of preparing. The target is to get to that 20,000 hectares. All the sites for the 20,000 hectares are known to my ministry's technicians. Now, in the land preparation, that is why this year alone, routes are prepared in the excess of hundreds and hundreds of hectares of land for preparation and rehabilitation. But projects like Rice Value Chain has a target of in the excess of 2,000 hectares, if I am right, Mr. Toure, for land preparation under the rice value chain. Also, part of our Feed Africa Summit in Dakar, this was in January 2023, the Gambia presented a compact. The compact is $180 million to the African Development Bank, and in that compact, land preparation is central. So as a government, we are aware that land preparation is the primary and the most important, and we are working towards that. But that aside, we have identified 45,000 hectares of upland rice, and the ministry is supplying free seeds for upland rice production. This upland rice production is less tedious, but also demand less cost in land preparation. So that 45,000 hectares of upland, once it is operational, we would not even require the 20,000 hectares of lowland production. So we have identified our target, that is the 20,000 of lowland, or 10,000 lowland plus the 45,000 upland. The ministry is working towards that and is distributing free seeds. In terms of reducing drudgery and mechanization and inducing youth into agriculture, that is why mechanization is central in our works. That led to the importation of the 180 tractors, the importation of the planters that you saw, and one other thing probably you did not see in the video. Last February, the government of the Gambia bought and distributed 20 rotavator boats. And I would have been happy if these boats were shown on the screen, because what these boats do, they do exactly what a tractor does. The only difference is you cannot use them anywhere except on the rice field. Because what we have realized as a ministry or government, we bring tractors and people use the tractors to collect sand and stone. And that is not the primary purpose of our tractors. But with the rotavator boat, you can only use it in the muddy fields day and night, actually. You can use them day and night, and you can only use them on the fields. That will improve our land preparation. It will increase our plowing service access. So these are things that we identified as the reason why. But also, in this country, last year, we cultivated 173,000 hectares of land. If those hectares were rice, we would have been exporting. So we are producing other cereals and other crops, but not enough rice. But again, I think also our consumption diversification. We cannot consume what is consumed in Kenya. We cannot be a maize country. We cannot be a cassava country like Nigeria. We are born with a culture. We are born in an environment. We are born with rice. Our environment is rice. So that's the reality. So the bottom line is Gambians should also start eating coos and corn. Once we start diversifying our diet, I think it will reduce the pressure that we have on rice. But nonetheless, the ministry and the government is committed to preparing these 20,000 hectares on supporting upland rice production and our target of 300,000 metric tons by 2030, the latest. Thank you very much, Mr. Jai.
Next question.
I think the question was regarding NGOs and youth empowerment and youth marching grant.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Koka, for the question. In my introductory remarks, I mentioned that Roots concentrates on youth and women, and 25% of our target beneficiaries are supposed to be youth. As per our statistics last year, we are 33% of our target beneficiaries being youth, and that's out of 21,500 households. Specifically for the matching grants, we target youth entrepreneurs, either those who are already in business or who are startups. And our target is 240 youth businesses by the end of the project. In 2023, we had 39. A few weeks ago, we awarded another 86 in this very premises. So we are more than halfway towards our project target. But our focus is ensuring that these are profitable and commercially viable. They are not non-profit interventions. They are designed to be commercially viable, and they are mostly service provision as well as the supply of goods and equipment, agro-processing to reduce post-harvest losses, to create a market for our farmers, plowing services so that we can increase productivity, sale of seeds, fertilizer, and so on, agro dealerships, if you like. And we have agri-transport to link the gardens and the rice fields to the markets and the lumos. Generally, these are the areas in which we support the youth. And one also very important intervention regarding the youth is the harvest and post-harvest equipment, which the Honorable Minister touched on, particularly rice threshers and milling machines. We also supply the youths across the country with those things. Regarding land preparation, this year the target for Roots is 3,500 hectares. Last year we were 1,800 hectares. Regarding land development, the 20,000 Honorable Minister mentioned, Roots is expected to contribute 10% of that, 2,000 hectares. And that, I have to say, that target was reduced simply because of the cost that the Honorable Minister alluded to. The cost of land development has skyrocketed from about $6,000 to $8,000 per hectare to now $12,000 to $15,000, and that forced our hand in reducing the target. So that is the Roots perspective as far as land development, land preparation, and youth support is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 10 more minutes to the end of this episode. We'll take 4 questions, 2 from... Yes, I'll get 2 from the floor and 2 from... you have one more question to answer. Okay, yes, okay. Who's going to answer that one?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Ndaw si mang la gërëm ci sa laajte bi nga laajte ci mbiri disaster ak agriculture ak health. Pour starter ci agriculture ak health, there's this initiative called World Health boo xam ne Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture ak yeneen ministry yëpp bokk nañ ci, waaye seen mébét mooy pour make sure ne lekk bu ñoo lekk is very healthy, comme du la indil feebar ak yeneen side effects. But pour wax la tamit ne agriculture commencé nañ benn programme boo xam ne dañoo jox pharmacie organic fertilizer. Already we have a program that is almost 6,000 tons, that we are distributing to the farmers so that at least that part of chemicals and other things can be reduced. Ñu wàññi lool ci mbiri lekk bi. Why the other most important thing lu ma bëgg a emphasize mooy some of the imported items ñoo lekk boo ko xoolee and some of the local products that we are doing difference bi dafa bari because soo xoolee ganaar for instance lekk si ni most of the time when it is brought in this buñ ko indee si dëkk bi xamuloo ñaata yoon la moo freeze ak on freeze balaa nga koo lekk sometimes it can be toxic also. So muna for instance, local ganar ak local produce is very good. Ñu start ñun tamit ñuy lekk loo xam ne moom lañ produce dëkk bi fii loolu dina xaar suñu health. In addition to loolu tamit disaster wax nga mbiri disaster ñun ñook NDMA dañ dee liggéey torop ma jox la few examples jaxali pàccaar soo seetee benn si seen mébét mooy ne si time in nawet bi su tawee ndox bi daf day jógee from si biir dëkk bi dem flood field si
NGOs also went and support them. So my ministry and the disaster management are in real and the disaster management are in real connection, and we are supporting farmers together. And of course, the biggest victims of disaster in this country are farmers.
Thank you very much.
This mic is not working. Why did I make
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Honorable Minister of Agriculture. Honorable Minister of Agriculture. Hello? Hello? It works?
Yes.
Yes. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Sabali, the host minister, Dr. Sise, Minister of Information, permanent secretaries, ministers in attendance, colleagues, and government. Doesn't work too? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. The question I have, how to hold it?
Yes.
Anyway, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
So the question I have actually is, it pertains to land. In the 1970s, in Tanzania, President Julius Nyerere began a rice project with the people in Alberta, Canada, to help the Barabe cattle herders of Tanzania by the Nile Valley. They roll in several hundred tractors, combine harvesters, whatever you call them. Huge machinery was flown in from Alberta, Canada to Tanzania. And they started this project under his philosophy, agriculture philosophy called Ujama, which is villagization. Most Gambians went to study in Tanzania in those days. Well, I am curious to know, because throughout the minister's rendition and the other experts, they've talked about combine harvesters, tractors. What eventually happened in Tanzania was the machines from Alberta, Canada, were not actually suitable for the soil in Tanzania. The prairies of Alberta are very compact, very organic, and very organized. And all too often in Alberta, there is rainfall, unlike Tanzania. So when the tractors began, it was a huge project. The Russians were supporting him and everybody. But eventually it crumbled because the tractors and the machines that we have brought to Africa were not suitable for the African soil. Gambia is a small country. All too often we are very hysterical about projects. Have we had problems with tractors being imported, with machines being imported to Gambia? Do we, from America, from England, their suitability to the Gambian soil? Do we have that? That is my concern. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Joof, keep it short. We have 5 minutes.
Béykat yi fi nekk yëpp ngeen toog xaar ñu sa programme bi jeexee sama dokula bi jàng yembatu programme o na bantay si do yembatu ko di.
Joof, keep it short quickly. Number dun kanalem mbari muso. Joof quickly.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. maa ngi nuyu ñi fi nekk ñëpp di rafetlu xeeti programme bi nii waaye just a quick one comme ça amuñu waxtu bëggoon naa laajte si lu jëm si mbiri poultry sector bi because ñu bari tey dañ dee ragal invest si sector boobu noonu te ñu bari moom lañ mën a jënda because ñun ñëpp mënuñoo jënda ndawal ginaar la ñoo jënda waaye li ñoo wax mooy ñiy produce mënuñoo compete with imported poultry products yi jógee si bitim réew lan la ministry bi agriculture am pour gis ne protect nañ local farmers yi moo xam ñi nekk si poultry bi wala ñi nekk si wàlli nen bëggoon naa la ci quick tamit to small ruminant project bi gis nañ ne AMI project bi lim jubluwaay bi mooy woon ne pour ñu am xar mu yomba si biir réew mi lim adresse si Tabaski bi passé mooy adresse na availability wante adresse wut affordability because dafa mel ni xaalis bi dañ ko joxe ñu dem jëndi ji xar si biti indi ko jaayaat ko si biir réew mi soo demee jëndi dañ la dee wax ne CFA bi moo seer moo tax xar yi seer which means kon available na waaye it was not affordable léegi nag since lii is about 26 million bu teg naka la ñoo def ba gis ne xar bi si boppam emut si mu am rek waaye yomba na ba bépp Gambien mun see jot jërëjëf amoon naa lu ëppali waaye mënu ma koo laaj
waaw mbaari muso Baal my code dialaban please.
Ndato mama tintola bata bunda be gadi no to nyame na sansango tinyatale anu semba ko la jiboro fananke dunda fengol konon ninga mano doku jiboro ka tijale semba ko la irol fanan be siarin jede ninga doko ko mas ikaje fenso samaye nana aka sponkol boyin kanna irol tengolu anin yirkuntu bari be siar na gadi no to bakel yembatan dije ba
ila to na demaro
ha demaro left away
okay minister Bijanne final question jalang quickly
no last question
no last question bro and that's it
assalamu alaikum minister of agriculture ngi konton Ismaila ngi konton na ñin karo men wala na demaro ya ñin karo men wala mu ngam minister la ako projetol Bijanne mena ko fonni kel dema ando ko di jama foje laftalo na simfa jumal ne ka tano pour ko demaro soto fulan jango ako demaro ni nga onda sa wolin ko a dilori fo han sa bunna be jeni melon ko mo se dunno le bam pour ko a demaro soto kan mboda ka sa kunale fonnin kelbi man ko keno soto tora by 70 by 250 akino be laare je fentije anu fonnin kelbi ngajel be wakillim bake ka jabo doku ka kanjo doku bara niya doku banta bemol katale ka ganilo taki ka tinya
saya ni karo kera saya mu la barka ba ke jala yo honorable the mic please no they have to answer the question finally
honorable minister you are abusing us
no 5 minutes and we are done
Thank you very much. I think I will take the question that is from the Honorable Government Spokesperson and Presidential Advisor on Diaspora Matters. Honorable Spokesperson, we are very, very aware of the issue of tractors and equipments coming into this country when they will not be suitable for our ecology. This led to my personal visit to Turkey. I was in Konya. It is a very well-known area for tractor and agricultural equipment. Again, my technicians have visited China. But the most important part is once the contract is mature, the individuals that are going to bring the equipment, one of the conditions are they will be bringing 1 or 2 that will be tested on the ground by our farmers in Sapo, in Basse, and in all our rice ecology areas, and acceptable before the entire fleet is delivered. That is one condition. Second condition is we wouldn't only have one supplier, because if we have one supplier, it means they will all look the same, they will all be from one manufacturer. And if there's a fault in one of them, it's likely it's going to be a fault across all of them. So the entire fleet will be parked in no time. Another issue that we ensured, and we will in the contract, is the supplier of these tractors are going to set up in this country. They will have their warehouse, they will have their engineers in this country to train our engineers on how to operate and maintain these tractors. But all that aside, part of the contract is to make sure once these tractors are here, they have insurance, they're going to run for at least a minimum of 5 years. Failure to do that, they will be paid back. So there are a lot of safeguards that we are aware of, but the most important thing is a sample will be sent, tested on our ecology itself here, and deemed satisfactory before the entire fleet is supplied, because we are aware of these challenges in other areas. Other question relating to poultry, I will allow Mr. Toure, that is the CPCU coordinator, to talk about the poultry issue, and the rams, small ruminant, will talk about that, and the garden in Bakote. I think what we will do, I was checking with my project coordinator, he will talk about the gardens in Bakote also, and also the assistance for the youth. Of course, Mr. Jan had addressed some of the youth marching grant, but the work that we are doing around the youth, I will allow PS to mention that. So first, I will allow Mr. Toure to talk about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diouf. I think with regards to poultry, like of the 9 projects, the giraffe is supporting poultry farmers and through the matching grant. And one of them is the likes of Mohamed Sanyang here. You are right. Today with the matching grant, the number of crates that he's producing per day has increased from 2,000 to 3,000 hectares per day. Crates per day, which is a lot of eggs. Likewise, poultry, and there are about 5 of them. You have some of them in Abuko, some of them in Mandinari. And the challenge, you are right, which they have lamented. This was why we had a mission with the Minister of Trade, Mr. Diouf, and also our Minister, to hear from these people that we are supporting. Not only the poultry farmers, but other beneficiaries who are producing onions and have their onions harvested back in a very nice package. But again, the price, the imported one, is really killing them. And that was why the Minister of Trade and our Minister, to see what we can do. Thank God for the onions, there was a government moratorium, but for the eggs, I think, for poultry products like eggs and meat, I think the government is taking it with the ministry to see what they can do to support our poultry farm. But really, this is an industry that we are supporting, and there is prospects in this poultry. They just need some support from government. With regards to the garden, Marumuso, Bakote, data jenu wotumo giraffe ya as master kado boke, bari garden men soto ani project wala penko is 5 hectares bari bring na mo tata je ya jiko hectare sabalem a desatale so bari hanni bi abe na kaytol to ni dema do bi je wolle mo gadu no to be futala mel me alon koy mang hectare no lu soto so wala na mata bari na the public press officer, I just want to also buttress your point, gender disaggregate data. Projects, all projects have disaggregate data. In fact, sometimes they will tell you 60% of the beneficiaries are women, and also 25, just as alluded by Mr. Jain, are 25 youth. If you look at our interventions, we will provide the statistics if you have it. 40 gardens we are implementing, and 20 of them are specifically for women, all with drip irrigation, just to address the issue of climate change. And also some of them will have greenhouses. I think the lady mentioned about the greenhouses. The other 20 are for youth, specifically for youth, and either they will go in for sprinkler or for drip, just to address the issue of climate change.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have 2 more questions to answer, one from small ruminants and one for youth support, Mr. Jan. So we'll go with small ruminant first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jërëjëf Mr. Diouf li ngay wax noonu am na gàtta gi bëri na waaye price bi wàññeekuwut because dañ dem jëndi ko outside. li ko waral mooy ne projet bi dafa am $3 million fond boo xam ne bii daf ko séddale ñaari microfinance ñuy ko leble ci islamic way bi maanaam ci sariya lañ ko leble so ñu bari li ñuy def mooy ne bu tabaski bi jegee dañoo dem leb jënd ñëw jaay delloo waaye boobu benn la rek ci support pour access to finance waaye tigi projet bi jubluwaayam bi mooy ne ñu ngee bugg a sampa juróom-benn fukki place ci biir réew mi ñu ngi sampa néeg yooyu noonu fanweer yi mooy ñi nga xam ne ñoom nit ñi xam nañ ne ñooñu dañuy yefal gàtt waxtu buñ toll ñooñu dañ leen di support juróom-ñaar fukki xar yu góor ñu jaay ko den mu nekk revolving fund léegi ñu continuer di jaay essayé nañ loolu daaw biñ jaayee am na ñoo xam ne am nañ 1.2 million am nañ ñoo xam ne am nañ 1 million am na ñoo xam ne am nañ 800,000 this year ñooñu ñëpp mun nañoo jënda xar jaay ko from the revolving fund waaye yeneen fanweer yi mooy ñi nga xam ne dañoo yar jur ñooñu ñooy ñi nga xam ne ñoom dañuy yar pour jur gi gën a bari so fanweer yooyu noonu dañ leen di support ñi nga xam ne jot even ci Fatina si ñi support daaw boo demee ren am na ñoo xam ne boo fa demee léegi di nga fekk ñu am lu ëpp téeméeri xar yoo xam ne yii ñoo ko moomal seen bopp so nga xam ne ñoom foofu noonu la ñuy mën a jëlee seen xar yu góor yi ñooy jur la yooyu la ñuy ñëw jaay so di nga gis ne bu lii continuer di nga gis ne buñ demee ñeenti at ci kanam waxuñ ne du am xar yoo xam ne dinañ jógee ci biti waaye di nga gis ne lu ëpp ci xar yi nga xam ne moom la ñuy lekk ñi juróom-benn fukki production centers yi nga xam ne dañ ko tasaare ci biir réew mi ba base tunda bu nekk am na di nga gis ne nit ñi dinañ fa mun di jënd seen xar yi instead ñuy war a yaakaar ñi nga xam ne ñooy jógee ci biti loolu mooy li nga xam ne le projet bi di def bu mooyee loolu itam ñu ngi liggéey nañ ak dimbale DLS ñu ngi leen di dooleel vaccination péngu aar bi ñu def ren dafay aar gàtt gi ñeneenti at ci kanam so that means ne daanaka gàtt gi seen dund aar nañ ko loolu bu amee di nga gis ne ñaari at ci kanam bu fekkoon dañ amoon ñeenti téeméeri junne xar yi ak béy yiñ lii péngu di nga gis ne dinañ am lu ëpp juróom-ñaar téeméeri junne loolu bu continuer di nga gis ne gàtt dootuñ ko utiwaat loolu mooy jéego yi nga xam ne moom la projet bi di def pour ñu mun di am gàtt ci suñ biir réew.
jërëjëf Mr. Jagne, finally, then there was a question from KUNDA about how young people can access the support.
The support. So the matching grant comes in cycles. So when we start, we advertise all over the country to say, if you're interested, this is what you need to do.
Okay.
We just concluded the last round, as I mentioned, and 2-3 weeks ago, we did the award for 86 youths. We are working on the next cycle. But I have to clarify that for the youth, we don't specifically target them for vegetable production. The gardens of the Roots project target mainly the women-led community gardens. But of course, within those gardens, you will find the youth.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Thank you very much. I have a final question before I give my concluding remarks. How can farmers access fertilizers and seeds? The question someone just sent.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable. I will not talk about seeds because the ministry is responsible and there's a department that is responsible for seeds. I will only focus on the fertilizer. Just like I said previously, the government of the Gambia this year, we have in stock over 580-something thousand bags available. That is over 30,000 tons, over 28,000 tons towards 30,000 tons of fertilizer available. Now, the process of distribution of fertilizer to the farmers is one. We have conditions, given the experience that we have previously, that farmers will just come, we avail them the possibility of accessing fertilizer on credit. But because we are having issues on repaying, we have put in conditions. One, if you want fertilizer, you have to, if you want to trade in fertilizer, you have to have a bank guarantee or a lease document. But notwithstanding, as we speak, we have already today over 30,000 bags of fertilizer has been accessed by the farmers. Yes, so we have outlets all over the country. We have 9 depots in the provinces and Saro making 10. If you go to Kaur and you want to buy fertilizer, you just go to our depot. You'll have it. Notwithstanding, we also have agents that are distributing fertilizer to the farmers.
Okay. Thank you very much. The fertilizers are for Gambian farmers, so please don't smuggle them out of the country and sell them outside of this country. Thank you very much. That's the end of today's episode of MANSA KUNDA. We thank the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Food Security and his entire team for the very comprehensive presentation and the manner in which you answered all the questions. And also we thank the audience, those who came from far and wide to attend this very important episode of MANSA KUNDA, and also the questions you've asked, pertinent questions that can enhance our understanding of what is happening in the sector. We thank the media, we thank the staff of the Ministry of Information, the backroom staff, Haruna and your team, we thank you. We thank everyone that participated and contributed to the success of this program. The next MANSA KUNDA will take place in 2 weeks' time, and we will in due course announce the ministry that will come here to sit in front of Gambians and explain to Gambians what they are doing, what they've done, and what they intend to do. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very pleasant night. Thank you.